Welcome everyone to a Journey of Riches, the interview series with the authors. I'm speaking with Alex Dumas. He's a keynote speaker. He's a coach, and we collaborated in a book together, Journey of Riches, The Power of Self-Discovery. Great to be chatting with you today, Alex.
Yeah, John, thank you for one, inviting me to be a part of the book series, two, for inviting me to be a part of this interview, and three, just for the transformation you create in the world through this book series and other projects you do. So I'm really excited to have this conversation with you.
Thank you. Yes, and thank you for stepping up and sharing your story. You went deep, like you was no holes barred. You unturned every rock, pebble, stone, and you really just bared all. And why was it so important for you to do that?
Yeah, great question. For anybody who's wondering, my chapter in this anthology series is called "Everybody Wins, Including Me," and I essentially take you through my life's journey in 5,000 words, right? Just under 5,000. And to answer your question, it was important for me because of how this story started out, where one of my earliest memories of being a young boy, of seeing this family photo, right? Just something really mundane, like just passing, right? Just something I would see every day, never really think about it. But then one day that it really strikes me that, oh, I'm not in this picture. Like, and it causes this rift or of sorts inside of my mind, inside of my spirit of, well, I'm not here, I'm not important. I create this narrative about myself and essentially condemn myself to a life sentence of misery. I call it isolation, of not feeling very connected to people. And with writing this story, I shared it in the chapter of like, man, this is uncomfortable for me. This is not something that, you see me now. I'm very energetic. I'm very extroverted. I love being with people. You mentioned speaking, coaching people, right? Leading all these different things I do. But that it still takes a long time of reminding myself, like, oh yeah, I do have value to add. I do have a voice. I do have something that's important to share with the world. So when this opportunity presented itself, it was just the stars, the planets lined up just right for this to happen. And I thought, this is my moment. Let me share my piece of the story. At least if nothing else, if I never write anything again in my life, people will have at least a better picture of like what created this person here.
Yeah, they certainly will. It's a great chapter, and you really go deep on discovering aspects of yourself, the good, the bad, and the extremely vulnerable, as you shared. Like you really just aired it out. It was amazing, and it's written in such an empowering way as well. It's not like a sob story or anything like that. It's a really
Yeah.
powerful way that, hey, like we're all human, we all go through ups and downs. So these are some of the things that I really need to look at to improve myself, to improve my life. And of course, you had that game-changing moment. There's moments of humor as well. It's a very it has a broad spectrum of emotions. And I really appreciated MySpace days. You're on MySpace.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
talk a
goodness.
little bit into that for us.
Yeah, so to kind of set the scene for people at this phase of my life, I'm 22. I'm a senior in college, so I'm getting ready to graduate in spring of the next year. I'm working, I got a car, I'm doing all right on paper, but I have this attachment, these addictions in my life, right? With substance abuse, with other things, and I'm struggling in life. I'm kind of just drifting, right? I'm like I said, on paper, doing well, but I'm not really, I'm not going after anything. There's no purpose. I'm just kind of here. And my game back then was just trying to find girls on the internet who are local, trying to meet up with them, right? Just, try to be a player, but that wasn't necessarily the the results. And just one regular night, I'm scrolling through. I happen to see this young lady's profile. I'm like, oh, hey, okay, what's up? And I just go into her DM. I just say, hey, what up? Nice pics, right? That's it. Just 3 words. I didn't have time for what's up. That would have taken too long. I needed what up. I needed to
What
condense it,
up?
get to the
Okay, yeah,
point.
of
What's
course.
up was
Yeah.
like, oh my goodness, like that's two extra words. Like, no, just what up.
You got things to do. You got a barbecue to cook. You got to,
Yeah, yeah. I'm making moves. I got my homeboys to hang out with. I'm just living kind of the mini fast life. And for some reason, this young lady responds back to me, right? I'm thinking she's gonna like ignore me or curse me out. Like, who says that? But we started developing this friendship. We started communicating. This is really gonna date myself, right? AOL, right? In our buddy list, right? She added me to her buddy list. I added her to mine. And within a week or so, we wound up meeting in person, right? We're only a few miles away. She's bored one day. She says, "Hey, come pick me up." I'm like, "All right, fine." Right. And this is how much of a gentleman I am. I don't even get out the car. She just jumps into the car. It's late at night. There's no real street lights on her neighborhood. So this is a whole sketchy scene to to start with. Then we go to the movies, we hang out, bring her back home. That's really kind of the end of the story there. But we start talking a little bit more and more. We start hanging out almost every day for pretty much the better part of that month. And then fast forward into January, where we're hanging out still. And I walk her to the door for the first time. And I think both of us felt like, oh, wait, this might be something, right? Just because we have been talking in the car for hours. We never really spoke, anything outside of like, hey, you want to like get high, you want to go party. Like it wasn't anything like that. It was just we had a real authentic heart-to-heart conversation. I walk her to her door and I step on her foot to kiss her, so make sure she didn't like back away or get away. So it sounds terrible now, like saying it out loud, like I had to make sure she didn't get away, but hopefully somebody will get it out there. Like, hey, I was kind of dorky and nerdy and didn't have much confidence, but I went for it for that moment and it worked out. And we've been together 18 years since and married for 14. So it worked out. So gentlemen, don't step on ladies' feet unless you're like ready to put a ring on it.
Yeah, there you go. And you have two children as well, like a 12-year-old and 8-year-old, something like that.
In the ballpark. So our daughter just turned 14
Uh-huh.
last month. So we're recording in September. So August she turned
Yeah.
14 and our son is 9.
Great. Awesome. And what do they think of your story and your chapter? Have they read it?
They have not read it yet.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
uh, but
It's
they've been supportive along the process, and they kind of geek out with me when I was, as you shared in our group,
yeah.
all of the updates and revelations, what's going on. I'm like, hey, look, this was happening. They're like, okay, Dad, wow, cool, right? Wow, that's
It's
awesome.
not,
But they
yeah.
but they've been in this world, they've been in the personal development transformation space since they've been babies, right? They've grown up with me as I've grown into this. So they're already like, oh my God, here we go again. Another another thing. But I think deep down inside, like they like it. They like having their dad a little bit of a celebrity, sort of.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool. And
Yeah.
you impact a lot of people as well, which is great.
No, thank you.
Uh, yeah. I Another thing you were saying about when you met your then girlfriend and now wife, that
Yeah.
you were struggling with substances abuse. Now we're
Yeah.
mostly we're talking this. You said in your chapter the sticky icky, and that there
Yeah.
was almost like an alternate personality to you. That was the sticky green, I think you said.
Yes. Yeah. Sticky green. Yeah.
Sticky green. So
Yeah.
talking to what was that subjugating, or what was that helping you manage with life that you didn't feel like? What was it about for you? If you could speak into that.
Yeah. For me, this is, I really, I started using in high school, like 14, 15 years old. And I didn't get a chance to really talk about this in the book, but there was some just different experiences that happened over the course of my freshman year of high school where I experienced like my real first, like, I guess you call it puppy love, like real heartbreak. Right. I
Okay,
was
yeah.
just in a depressive state for months, right? This relationship didn't work out with this young lady. I was in summer school that year, so I was already feeling like a loser. Got into this fight and was getting bullied by kids. So I had all these things compounded on me, and I just saw this as an escape. I felt like I could do anything with this inside of me, right? If I'm token, I'm just in the clouds, as I described it, that nothing can hurt me, nobody can bother me, that I have total control, which is hilarious because it takes away your inhibitions and it takes away your control. But I I just use and abuse it, and then I've developed this thought of, I have to get more. I can't necessarily go to my parents and ask like, hey, can I get $20? Hey, we just gave you $20. What are you using it for? Like, I'm not trying to answer any questions about that. So I make the decision that maybe I can take it from people. So I start stealing things. Every day my routine would be after school, stay with some friends, have a couple people look out. And our school, the high school I was at, they had cross country and track people. Like they would leave their bags and things like that, like in the open, like an open space. So I'm thinking, oh, these guys are morons. Like, what are they thinking? Like I'm going through it like every day, going through bags, going through stuff, taking things, going through lockers. I laugh about it now. It's not funny. It's like it's just it was bad decisions, but this is the mentality of the addict that no matter what, I get what I want, no matter who gets hurt, no matter what costs, whatever price I have to pay. And there's a couple of close calls, and it didn't matter because my mind was just fixed like the next high, the next high. Just I gotta I gotta keep going up. Like if I feel like myself like normal, there's a problem. So I have to medicate that. And it just yeah, there was that was the mentality. It was just I'm here, I'm living for the day. I'm not scared to die. I don't think I have anything to really live for. And I'm ready for the next thing. And ooh, let's try this. Ooh, some powders. I'll sniff that. I'll take this pill, right? It just spiraling out of control. And that was my life for years, and until it wasn't.
Right. And was meeting your wife was one of the big turning points for you?
Yeah, for sure. She,
Yeah.
in her wisdom, laid down somewhat of an ultimatum because I was, even though we're together, I'm faithful to her, but like I'm hanging out with my buddies, my street buddies. Like, I would see her, hang out with her, and then, all right, bye, see you later. And I'm hanging out with my boys for the rest of the night. She's like, you can't, this can't continue, right? You have to make a choice, me or this. And I chose her.
Okay, cool. Nice. Wise decision. And
Yeah.
yeah, look where you are now. You also strike me as someone that's got a strong personal development game. Like, do you have like a routine? Do you have like a coach yourself? Do you like attend events regularly, read books regularly? Do you have like a set routine that you stick to?
Yeah, I can't say for at least in this season there hasn't been a set routine with anything. There's been a lot. There's been a lot of my space, but as far as the personal development, yeah, that's been my obsession, honestly, for the last, here we are at almost 10 years now at the time of
Yeah.
recording this. Uh, the first real opportunity, real exposure to personal development was the end of 2014. I was getting into the financial services industry, and their wisdom, they encourage people to read books, and watch podcasts. So I was watching Les Brown and E.T., Eric Thomas, Jim Rohn, Zig Ziglar, Bob Proctor, Ed Milet, and that started to change things within me. And it's been a process of like investing, finding the best coaches I can work with, going into programs, going into masterminds. Yeah, I've invested like well into six figures on myself, right? It's I had 30 years, 31 years of what we call stinking thinking. So it's taken a lot to I don't want to say reverse it because it is what it is, but to embrace it, to not make it wrong, to not judge myself over it, not to condemn myself and criticize, but look at how those things helped me, how they served me, how they allowed me to be on this path. Like all of it was necessary, right? And one of my mentors, Steve Hardison, the ultimate coach, talks about like don't waste anything. Nothing is ever wasted.
Mm.
So that's how I try to live my life, and my routine. I really focus on. And now it's really putting on like I like lo-fi instrumental music. Like it just gets me in a different vibe.
Mhm.
So I'll listen to like some Christian lo-fi. I'm like that's the
Cool.
faith I subscribe to. So I'll listen to like lo-fi things, just kind of get me in the mood,
Mhm.
bring my son to school, exercise a little bit, and get after work things, whether it's working on my speeches, reaching out for speaking engagements, connecting with people on social media, creating content or having calls with people. And
Mhm.
that's my life.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, that's it. Well, I mean, you're active and doing a lot. So,
Yeah.
how many keynote presentations do you do a month on average?
On average, I would say probably two a month.
Okay.
Yeah. Whether it's
Yeah.
virtual or in person. And
Yeah.
that's a pretty good cadence for me. Three would be like probably a good stretch. Three to four would be like
Yeah.
a good stretch, but one to two is really solid for me.
Yeah. Nice. And so, and your wife is also in the personal development space, right? She
Yeah.
runs programs. She's a coach and a speaker as well.
Yes, yes, yeah. She works with women. She's what we would
Yeah.
call the money coach. So she is all about empowering women to live a life of prosperity, to tap into their own frequency of abundance, to really just understand the energetics of wealth. And she's
Yeah.
got an amazing track record of success with in the business world and then also in this coaching space as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Okay, great. So yeah, you've got a really good dynamic going along,
Yeah,
and
so
I guess
our kids get double
yeah,
whammy with like mindset things all the time. They're like, "Oh my goodness,
your
like, are you
thinking
guys?"
is a stinking, son.
Yeah.
I think that
But
was
they
Zig
but
Ziglar
they
used to
catch it.
say that. Yeah,
Yeah, but they
yeah.
catch it. Like the
Okay.
best lessons
Yeah,
are caught; they're never taught. So
yeah,
when I hear them kind of coach talking to each other or
yeah.
working with their friends, I'm like, "Oh, they got it. I see it."
Yeah, yeah, little bump with your wife. So yeah.
Yeah, it's like, all right.
Yeah, yeah, nice. Oh, that's cool. And so what what was your intention for writing your chapter, and what do you hope readers get from your chapter?
Yeah, my intention was to have it as a complement to the keynote I deliver already. So one of the parts of the my chapter are called the win-win communicator, and that's the name of my keynote, the win-win communicator, a new way for leaders to
Yeah,
listen.
yeah,
So this is really just kind of an extension of it. For like I'll go over a little bit of my story as I talk, but it's my stage time is not about me necessarily. I really focus on the audience. But there's also the book there as an extra resource, an extra context for someone to be like, oh, okay, now I get why why this journey for him happened the way it happened. And yeah, my intention for this is to use that as a companion to the
mm,
keynote. And also really it's kind of destiny, right? I'm named after the author, Alex Dumas. So like at some point I was gonna write something. So
yeah,
just this just came at the right time. And I see I want people to walk away from this really recognizing that they have choices in however they want to show up, however they want to express themselves into the world, however they want to create themselves. But there's a choice in there. I I created a belief for myself that this is how it is, this is how it's always going to be. Life is this, and there's nothing I can do. Too bad, so sad. With Sarah, with my kids, with coaches and mentors, and the inspiration I get everywhere. It helped me look at the questions I was asking myself in a different way. And that's why I even threw in some questions in the chapter where if I can ask myself some more empowering questions, I might actually find some empowering answers. My
mm,
questions I would say is BC, before coaching, before speaking, would be why is life like this? Or why is this happening to me? Why can't I have what I want? Right? They're not terrible questions, but there's no strength in them. There's nowhere for me to go except for pointing a finger or blaming or judgment. When you look at after coaching, in the process of the work that I do with myself and work I've done with other coaches, I started looking at, hey, what can I create from this situation? What's available to me? Who can help me? What's what's the gold in this? What's the value? What's the treasure that I can't see yet? And that turns on my creative center. It's like, oh, maybe there is something here. But maybe this situation wasn't as bad as I thought, or this conversation was actually more necessary for me to have or not have. Maybe there's something I didn't leave, I left unspoken. So I try to extract the gold there, and I think my chapter hopefully is helping somebody out there do that for themselves of looking at, oh, yeah, I've been here, I've been in these positions, I've been an outcast, I've been kind of the black sheep of this community or family, whatever, but like there's still hope for me. I still have a choice to see if I can do something positive in my life and make a difference.
Yeah, some great key distinctions there. And I appreciate what you said earlier about, not wasting everything, that there is two sides to everything. And
Mm.
so, earlier on when you had that, you look at the family photo and you're not in it. And originally it was a negative trigger for you. And it basically you spiraled out of control, right? So how have you turned that narrative around to something that actually serves you?
Mm. Good question. Yeah, I use that as a superpower, honestly,
Yeah.
of yeah, I wasn't in this photo here. I wasn't included, and I even joke about it in the chapter a bit. Like, hey, if I just asked my parents, they would have gladly taken it of the picture. I just didn't have the confidence through that age to ask or even consider that. So I see all those things. Like I said, nothing's wasted. It was all there for me, and the way I can reframe that now is being with that little inner Alex of whenever those little flare ups happen, right? Whenever I get irritated, triggered by something, it's like, oh, here he comes, right? He's coming again. He wants to just get his voice out. He just wants to express himself. That's really what he wanted. He just wanted to be seen. So I use that as opportunities now to slow down, be with people, be with myself, to to just make people feel included. And when I'm at events, when I'm in different communities, people feel that, and it's just an authentic thing. It's not like a calculate, like, all right, John's here. I got to make sure that I'm like really like a good boyfriend. Like, no, like I'm curious about people, and I think that's what that picture gave me. It gave me this gift of curiosity of, all right, I feel invisible in all these different settings at home and school, my community. So it taught me, all right, it taught me how to listen to people in a different way because you can kind of hear the real things from people when you're dismissed, when you're kind of just brushed aside and you're not acknowledged. You get to hear like what people are really thinking sometimes. It's like, oh, they're thinking the same thing I am. Like they're insecure too. They're afraid or they're judgmental of something too. And just recognize like, oh yeah, there's a lot of people that are hurting out there too. I'm not the only one who's in pain.
100%, 100%,
Uh,
and it gives you that empathy for other people and understanding. And I've definitely have noticed that you really do take your time with people, and it's very sincere, and you'll listen, and you'll be present. Yeah, that's inspiring to see, and it's definitely what a way to change that narrative. And for someone that didn't get a lot of the spotlight, now you're center stage, a couple of, a few hundred people, and I'm sure it'll go into the thousands probably by next year, the rate that you're going. And now it's like that missing part of your life has really been the fuel for what you do today, and it's like you now got both sides. So, before it was a curse and now it's an absolute blessing, and, you've got center stage, in a lot of cases, and you make it about your audience, which is just super powerful. So, yeah, I really feel like you've been able to take a lot of the pains in your life and turn them into gains, into blessings. And that's not easy to do. I feel that that is really the hero's journey, and it takes a lot of courage. And that's one of the things that I really admire and appreciate and respect about you, Alex, is that you've done the deep work. The stuff that it's not pleasant, it's uncomfortable, it's painful, and digging deep, and that's why working with coaches at different times, and that's what you help people with, is just to access and discover part of themselves that they've disowned, unloved, unappreciated, and you help elevate and shine the light. Well, how about this part here? Okay, you don't like that aspect of yourself, but if you turn it around, there's gold here. And
Yeah.
I find that that's really empowering for people, and I feel that you've done that for yourself as well. So
Yeah. Thank you. Receiving that acknowledgement for sure. And yeah, it's a deeper layer for it's deeper level for people like to unpack these layers. And what I always focus on is like connecting their traits to real things, to real tangible things. So it creates like, we're gonna get to the psychology talk, right? The synapse, right? The new
right.
formed habit belief of just somebody could walk in. I've had conversations with people like, man, I want to build this, I want to create this in my business, but I don't know how to do this. I never done that. I don't have these skills, whatever they say. And I'll just start examining, just there, listening, and then I'll reflect things back to them like, hey, you know what, I read off almost like a resume, like, hey, boom, 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 boom. Does this sound like somebody who can't do what you just said we were talking about? And a lot of times folks will be like, I've never heard myself created that way before. I've never saw myself like that before. Like, yeah, of course you can't. And same for me. I can't see the things I do when someone reads off my bio. I'm like, oh, I did that. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I have to, right? I gotta come back to earth. Like, oh yeah, that is me. Like I've done those things. I am that person. But we're quick to forget. We're quick to remember the horror, remember the agony, anguish versus like the bliss, the abundance, the joy that we are and that we create in the world. And we can bring somebody back into that. It's I wouldn't even say it's a battery, it's rocket fuel in that person. They can take off, they start doing miraculous things. And it's not lip service. This isn't like woo-woo like stuff. Like this is the real deal. Like I've experienced that when someone has challenged my way of thinking, and maybe not in the moment, right? A few steps back, a little hindsight, a little space, and then I start to see like, oh, wait a minute, they might be right. What if there's a possibility that I'm right, that you're more powerful than you think you are? What if possibly you can actually do the things you say you want to do without any interference from anyone, right? There's nothing in your way. What if there was nothing in your way? What would you do? Who would you be? How would you operate? How would you choose to serve? And if you can do that for yourself and do that for other people, I mean, we have a totally different world.
Totally different world, completely different world,
Yeah.
completely different. I mean, everything's just made up anyway, really, isn't it? Like, th- our life is a construct of like what we believe to be true, and then we just believe that, and then we see that be reaffirmed back to us, and that cements our quote unquote reality, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, I feel that it's just, yeah, it's awesome the work that you're doing to help people change their paradigm, like the thing that we call reality, uh, and the personality, right? So
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
as a child, I was a powerful creator. I created evidence everywhere I went to back up this claim, right? My defense file, my sorry, my prosecution file would say this kid is not important. This kid doesn't fit in anywhere. This kid is not, he doesn't belong to anybody. He doesn't,
Yeah.
like, there's no place for him. And I would find it. Oh man, my family, and this is, I want to preface this like I had a great childhood. So for people like,
Yeah.
oh my God, your childhood sucks. Like, no, no, I had a great childhood. I was protected. I was
Yeah.
loved. I was cared for.
Yeah.
No one neglected me. No one ever hurt me.
Yeah.
This is just the stuff that was in here.
Yeah.
My lens, right? My glasses
Yeah.
are off, right? My lens of the world was, wow, invisible, insignificant, like not important. Nobody likes me. I have to act a certain way to get attention. And then I finally got wise and put these specs on and saw the light, saw life as, oh, this is just everybody's having these kind of things. And now I can see I have a choice. It's not default. I can design what I want.
Yeah, I mean, that's the opportunity. You can design what you want, and that's like the perfect realization. And I often forget that myself. It's like, I can have it this way. It doesn't have to be that way. And when you
Mm.
catch yourself in those moments, do you have something that you say to yourself, something that can turn it around, or, you're saying, do you have a method of catching those things?
Yeah, it is usually when I kind of feel I call it kind of bubbling up inside of me, like I feel kind of a blood boiling a little bit. And I'll just ask myself, I'll throw a question myself, like, hey, where am I at right now? Where am I? Like,
Yeah.
am I in some other world having this imaginary argument with this person? Right. And it happens, right?
Yeah.
I'm over here arguing with you. They have no idea. They're in their world and I'm fuming.
Argue with someone else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. I've taken
Yeah.
I've taken a slight to something, right, or taken offense,
Yes. Yeah.
and I'm the one stewing about it, and I have to check myself, like, hey, where am I at right now?
Yeah.
Am I here? Am I in reality? Like, am I in the seat? Am I in the earth right now, or am I in like Planet Alex, where
Yeah.
everybody should be doing what I say? Like,
Yeah.
okay, and I start to I'll literally just laugh out loud or make a joke of it. 'Cause I'm like you're being kind of silly right now, aren't you? It's what's happening here,
Right.
right? And
Yeah.
that usually helps to kind of reset. And sometimes if it's things that I kind of judge as more serious, right, I might need some solitude, put on some music, and just reflect
Yeah.
and really try to take the ownership of it. Of like, all right, what was I doing here? And this is not blame game. This is not victim shame. This is not toxic positivity. It's just me looking at how can I own this situation? Like, what was my responsibility in this? What was my role in this? Oh, I maybe didn't listen here. I maybe missed something there. Or was I in my phone? Was I really dialed in with what she was saying or he was saying? No, probably not. All right, what can I do to clean it up now? I made the
Yeah.
mess. Let's clean it up and move
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. Cool. Great. Yeah, I like that. How you just calm yourself down, isolate somewhere or do something that just, helps you recalibrate the situation and then make a decision based on, you know, a level headed or,
Yeah.
a neutral, emotionally neutral, without having any
Yes.
charge there. Yeah,
Yes.
that's key. So what if three things that readers can do to to discover deeper parts of themselves, to discover the power of self-discovery?
Mm. Yeah, the one thing that's coming up to me is it keeps coming back is this notion of slowing down.
Yeah.
And I get it. You reader, you person watching this right now, you might be saying to yourself, Alex, yeah, I want to slow down, but you don't get my life. I have
Mm.
this, I have this. Am I judging it? I'm going to invite you to this possibility of if you could just give yourself a few minutes of grace, right? Even if it's 2 minutes of just, you might choose to journal about it. You might choose to leave yourself a voice note. You might choose to text yourself, whatever it is that you feel good. If you want to write and burn a letter, it doesn't matter. But I would challenge you to think about what's been the best part of your day. My kids get annoyed with me all the time because when we're in grocery stores and it's kind of like the throwaway question, like, hey, how are you? Hey, I'm doing good, right? I'll slow down, be with that person, like, hey, what's been the best part of your day? And it stuns people like, oh, right, because now they're thinking, now they actually are answering a question with real thought, not just a hot potato thing, like, how are you doing? I'm good, right? I don't want you to hear anything about me. Just, yeah, it's good, it's fine. Yeah, yeah, it's all right. So for you as a reader, what's been the best part of your day? What's been the best opportunity, right? Reflecting on those things, and even on your path of self-discovery, on your journey, look at where you are right now, right? And then take a look at, hey, where was I a year ago? Was it better? Was it worse? Because at the end of the day, you are the scorecard, right? Your life is the scoreboard, and your happiness, your fulfillment, satisfaction level, whatever it is. And if you're not as happy or not as fulfilled or not as excited about what you're doing, then that's the opportunity to reflect. Like, what am I really here to do? What are my skills? What's my gift? I'm not saying quit your job and burn the boats and burn the bridge and jump full fledged into whatever it is, but what's the tiny step? What's the one thing I can do? What's of who and what is available to me to help my dream come true? I know I gave a lot, but that's right. You
That's
get
a
me
lot. Yeah,
going
that's
on. You get
huge.
me
Yeah.
going on these things. Like I won't stop. These are the questions.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, you need to. I really like the state break, because it's so easy to build a wall around, our day, especially if some things didn't go as planned. And then it's like just changes the focus, right? Well, actually, there were some things that actually went well. And
Right.
I think that's a really good state break, and just to change the point of focus into one of positivity. So I think anyone can do that, and then what things are you saying to yourself? What questions are you asking yourself? And really doing a stock take, an audit of what's working for you, what's not working for you. How can you
Yeah.
expand on that? And yeah, I find that that's a really powerful things that you can do right there. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's simple. It's not easy
yeah,
because it also
not easy.
requires honesty, right? And
Mm,
there's no progress without honesty. I can't go into my day thinking, well, I feel so fit and amazing, and I know that I've been eating cereal and cookies and like it's incongruent. My spirit is not going to be aligned with that fully because I know deep down, like I'm lying to myself. And that little seed is what's eating away at our own inner confidence because we're not keeping our own promises. We're not being authentic to ourselves. And I'm not saying you have to be perfect. Like you got to be 75 hard and you got to do a Goggins burn the boats and the logs. Like if that's your thing, that's your thing. I'm not, I love that stuff too, by the way. I love like I'm
yeah,
all
yeah.
for
I
like,
get exhausted just watching him, but yeah, I work out consistently, but not Goggins style. So
yeah,
yeah,
like
that doesn't motivate me. Yeah, like
yeah,
yeah.
like I love that
I
stuff.
go
I
like
love the macho rah rah.
underperform. Right, right. I'm more like, okay, I'm just gonna do like one bicep curl on each arm, and then I can walk out of the gym. That will
That's
get
it.
me into the gym, you know what I mean? But I'm
No,
not gonna leave it just, one rep on each
right.
arm.
Like
But it'll get me
that'd be
into the
ridiculous.
gym.
You just go in there, boom, boom. All right, just
Right, right. But if I'm
just
thinking
put
to
it down.
myself, I got to do a David Goggins workout, then my brain is gonna. I don't know. uh, I'm not at a level where I can associate pleasure with that type of workout, and so
No,
I'm going to try and that's painful for me, and I'll try and avoid that
yeah,
unconsciously. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
I'll create something like an emergency or something unconsciously that I'll have to go and do
Oh,
that rather than that
uh, oh no, I think I left the
unbelievable
goldfish in
workout.
the oven. I left the goldfish
Yeah,
outside. I gotta go get it. Like, what?
yeah, right, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, I better do the vacuuming. Oh, my wife's had a
Yeah,
hard day. I better,
yeah,
Yeah.
but
No, yeah, it's really spot on. I feel how do you motivate yourself? Being honest and being congruent, doing what you say you're going to do. They're all
yeah,
powerful things, and they're ways of building confidence within yourself, right? and,
Yeah.
changing your perspective, changing the way you look at things, doing what you say you're going to do. And you were saying earlier on, and I certainly could relate to that as well, is not having the confidence, not having a voice, not feeling like I had the freedom of expression. And,
Yeah.
the man that you are today is built on, being honest, journaling, slowing things down. That's a huge one. I noticed that even the stress in my body increases. Yesterday afternoon, I was in a rush. I had to be somewhere on at a certain time, and I had these other things I kind of needed to get done.
Yeah.
And yeah, he creates unnecessary stress. I just had all these different things compounding, happening all at once, and an appointment that didn't go at this time, was delayed by an hour, and that just stacked. And I had to wait for the yeah, so it was interesting,
Yeah.
and it's so powerful just to slow things down, and it's a really good reminder, for myself and for readers that, if you can just take a couple of minutes, journal if you can, or write on your phone in your notes in your phone, and just to really, take a breather and come back into the present moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I
It's
appreciate
huge.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
massive. And have you had a chance to read our book, our collaboration?
Yeah, I grabbed the ebook version of it, and it was my daughter. She kills me because she's just like, "Dad, are you really reading your own chapter? Like you don't know what happened? Like what? Like I'm like, yeah, right. It's like don't be a hater. Like I'm gonna read. I'm gonna read my stuff. Like
Yeah.
so I was reading through some of my chapter. I was also reading some of I believe Richard's chapter.
Yes.
But him talking about his experience with Sid Banks, and I was like, man,
Yeah.
this is amazing. I was reading some of Rachel's story. I was like, oh,
Yes.
okay. Whew, I gotta
Yeah.
buckle up for this one. That's
Yeah.
some heaviness.
Yeah. 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 And she's the sweetest person today, and really soft natured, and
Yeah,
yeah, really is just a resource for others. Just empowering women to take their power back, and
yeah.
so
I mean,
yeah, yeah.
so and I'm excited to dive into the other stories. I haven't gone into the other authors, so this is not a slight to y'all. Um, I'm reading the book. I decided not to read it like in normal order because I was reading through mine. I'm like, well, I know this guy and I know a couple of the other authors, so I was curious about
Yeah.
his chapter first, and then
Yeah, yeah. Well,
I
that
just
makes
don't.
sense. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Well, you connected with Richard and Rachel on the call,
yeah,
and so that makes sense. And
yeah,
but I'm a little bit hurt that you haven't read my chapter yet. I'm kind
yeah.
of feeling like the guy in the family photo that I'm not in the photo. I mean, I was on the call as well. It was like, I don't know if I can ever recover from this. I might have to, you know,
Well, you
sign
know
up
what's
for
funny?
some of your coaching. You've caused me this problem, Alex. Now I need to come to you for the solution.
That's gonna be my new Mitch. I ignore you, and then I help you feel. I help you feel
Yeah,
included.
yeah.
Go
I
from
know what
ignored
you're
to
up to. You
included.
got me hook, line, and sinker. I even
Yeah.
know what you're doing, and I'm still take the bait.
But
Yeah,
I'll
I
share
didn't
this
read
funny
your
thing.
chapter, John. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's last for a reason, buddy.
All right,
My
guess I'm done with
chapter's
this.
first. You got to
Won't
read
be
the
needed.
first chapter. Yeah,
Difference.
yeah, 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 yeah. I ain't digging with that last stuff.
Oh man, how many chapters in this book? Oh yeah.
Oh, yours is the 11th chapter, John. Oh no,
Yes.
sorry,
All right.
didn't make
I,
it that
I
far, buddy. I'll,
I'm a
I'll
ten
get
I'm a
there.
10 chapter quarter kind of guy. Like if there's more
Yeah,
than the
yeah,
end of the book, it's over for me. Let me tell you something, John.
Awesome.
What was funny about
Yeah,
that picture? So I shared the actual
yeah,
photo in
yeah,
the book of
yeah,
my mom, versus soul, my father,
yeah.
and my brothers and my sister. So me and my family, my wife, my two kids, in 2016, we started our own tradition of doing biannual family photos. So every 2 years, we take a family photo together. So it's been really nice to see us all grow. So we're due for another one this year. So it's gonna be interesting to see how we've changed since 2022. But the first one we did in 2016, this was not planned. I didn't recognize this until I received the copies of the print that I was just almost exactly like my father, except he had a fro. I'm baldy, right? But we're almost in the same exact position, just on opposite sides. He's standing this way with mom. I'm standing this way next to my wife. He's got a gray suit. I got a gray suit. He's got a red shirt. I got a like. I didn't even catch that. Like, was that really in my subconscious all these years? Like, I did that. I recreated, especially
Yeah.
this being the first photo. Like, my son is a baby at this point. Like, he's just turned 2. My daughter's still small, so it's just the 4 of us. And I'm like, as soon as I saw it, I was like, I can believe it. Like, I really created this. This is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that's how impactful, that you would, what's 0 to 6, that's 0 to 7, 0 to 8, those early years are so
Yeah.
impactful. Yeah, because we model the traits, behaviors, and that's when we're doing coaching or being coached, we go back to that earlier period and trace it back to the earlier possible memory of feeling abandoned or feeling unloved or feeling unworthy. And
Yeah.
yeah, we relive it in our
Yeah.
reality, and we don't
Yeah.
even know. It's so crazy. That's
Uh,
awesome. But I mean, I think that's
yeah.
a beautiful metaphor of, and how important it is to really, reflect in why we're making the decisions that we're making. And that, when we question our reality, and you were saying this before, that when you question yourself, oh, well, how am I being a cause of this? Or was I on my phone or something?
Yeah.
I wasn't quite listening, I wasn't quite present, did I not read something? Did I have a typo in my message? And
Yeah.
what was it for me? And then just sort of questioning the trigger and questioning the thought process. I think that that's just super powerful what you do, and I try to do the same. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
Just being aware, just being conscious, right? It's a consistent creation, right? And then for for the reader, you might think like, wow, it's exhausting. I gotta like be in, I don't say in control, but be mindful of what I'm doing. Like, yeah, but it becomes it can become an automatic thing, right? It takes time up front, right? This is not easy, right? If somebody cuts you off, right? It's not always easy. I'm not always pleasant, like, man, thank you, right? I'm not dropping the thumb always, right? Sometimes another
mm,
finger pops up when a traffic thing happens, but I get to catch it right away rather than letting that be something like I start reliving that story. I go in somewhere like, man, John, can you believe what this guy did to me? Hold on, I'm gonna tell, hey, Carol, do you understand what that guy did to me earlier? Right? It's 3:30 in the afternoon. Man, I can't believe like, hello, that was like 7 in the morning. Like, there's
yeah.
been 8 hours of me stewing and sauteing and living this person in my mind. Right now, that's just a traffic thing. Just imagine for years, I'm replaying this invisible moment of my mind. And then all the little evidence pieces that I gather, oh man, it sucks. It's just, it's a pot that's ready to explode, a volcano, and exploded in different ways with me acting out, me shutting down, shutting people away from my life. Right? That was probably the most common way of how that's shown up. It's like, oh, I don't like this situation, or I'm gonna avoid this, so I'm just gonna shut down and retreat inside.
Mm. And then, what you were talking about before about, well, asking yourself empowering questions, slowing
Yeah.
down time, journaling,
Yeah.
and that helps you actually then come out, well, why am I actually shutting down and opening up and keeping an open heart, staying in the present moment? If you're feeling triggered, isolating yourself. And so you self-contain, you can self-assess and come back into, a sense of present moment awareness.
I mean, even though I'm a Batman kind of guy, think about
You're,
Superman. He needed a fortress of solitude,
yeah,
right? And in the Bible, Jesus spent a lot of time alone. Like
Yeah.
if you look in the scriptures, like, oh, he was away somewhere praying. He was away from the crowd. He was in solitude in the mountains. Like that's the value you get when you're connected to source, God, universe, whatever you want to call it. For me, it's God.
Yeah.
And it's also through us too. It's like we were made in his image. So we have creativity, abundance, all that inside of us already. So it's just kind of coming back home, like I call it.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. And I mean, of course, Jesus spent 40 days in the desert, didn't he? Like a 40-day
Yeah.
fast in the desert. Yeah.
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 40-day fast. And yeah, I just, I do student ministry at the church.
Yeah.
Church building I attend. And, we talk about that. It's like just a solitude and how much of a challenge that is now. I mean, I wonder what that would look like if he were here in this age and he had this and you set it down and you're not there. That's almost mind blowing for people. Like, wait, what do you mean you can't go on Facebook? Like, you're not. When people are like, oh, I'm gonna go take a month off of Facebook. Like, are you gonna be okay? Like, do you need somebody to do you need someone to be with you? Like, are you gonna go through withdrawals and stuff like that? But there's a real power in I wouldn't even call it isolation. It's just the solitude piece of it, right? Of recognizing, all right, this is a lot for my senses. This is a lot of, of sensory things. I just need to kind of come back home to center, ground, and receive my breath and reflect on whatever it is.
Yeah, it's definitely even more pertinent in this day and age, with technology and the disconnect that that creates, just as much as the connection that it creates.
Yeah,
It's through technology that we're able to connect, in other parts of the world. So there's definitely, it's not all bad. There is, some major pluses. I
yeah,
know technology and the internet really help people stay connected during their pandemic. It's just when people, that's their go-to, and they're just scrolling and watching videos, and they're not, reaching out to their friends anymore. That can, it can be the downside. But that's like anything, right? There's,
yeah.
you
I
know,
mean, water gives us life, and water can also destroy a city.
yeah, yeah, right, 100%. Yeah, just ask any flood victims about that.
Yeah,
Yeah, so true. And so, what's next for Alex Dumas?
gosh. For me, you've unleashed the writing bug in me, so I'm still
Yeah,
creating. I'm drafting up some ebooks right now for myself as just another value add for
yeah,
organizations that I speak with and serve them that way. And
yeah,
yeah, just speaking of you watching out there, you reading, if you have stages out there, you're like, hey, I would love to have someone like you be a part of that and speak to our group or lead a workshop or facilitate something. I'm all ears for that. And yeah, just continue to create. Me and my wife are launching a program next week to help people with their presence online. We call it the brand amplifier. And that's giving them these pieces, these tools of reflecting on their brilliance that they've done, right? Really drawing out their genius, communicating that in a strong way via camera, through photos, through interviews, and then looking at how to leverage that to grow their businesses and public profile. So these are the types of projects I'm excited about. My group, the BIPOC Coach Collective, are resuming action this week as of Friday the 13th, which is hilarious. It's not intended to be Friday the 13th. It's just how it worked out. But uh, yeah, we're coming back strong with programming and different things
yeah.
for our members. So there's a lot, but that's what I signed up for. So I'm excited.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I love how you just put yourself out there and continue to move forward with that, and also simultaneously take time for yourself, and slow down during the day, and your interactions with your family, and it's awesome that you also have a great sense of service, giving back to your local community through the church. It's really inspiring. So
Yeah.
where can people get a hold of you? Where can people reach out to you if they're looking for a keynote speaker or if they want to touch base with you and chat with you?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. Appreciate that. You can
Yeah.
find me either at speakeralexdumas.com. It's how it sounds. Speaker Alex Dumas, all one word.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn as Alex Dumas and be happy to connect with you there too.
Yeah, awesome. I appreciate you, Alex. And
Yes.
yeah, thank you so much for trusting me and my team with your chapter and story. And yeah, it's an amazing opening. It's the opening chapter, opening to the book. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's a great resource. And it's definitely a chapter that you can reread. I've read it a few times. I know you have. And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
beautiful to do that. I love your daughter too, how she just keeps things real. And but you know, it's so good to reflect on your life though, and personal development, how far you've come. And you know, you said before that, you know, when someone's reading your bio, all the things, different things you've done, we forget those things. And so I understand it. Like it's valuable to reread the challenges that you overcome. It pumps
Yeah.
you yourself up. And so that you can remember, you know, that you can be that person that can overcome. I mean, they were really, I mean, they would have been like, oh my God, like my life is so difficult right now. I don't know how I'm going to make it through those moments, but you did. And look what you're doing now. And I feel that that's why you're reading your chapter, to remind yourself. That's why I reread my chapters, you know, and reread the books that I've written, is because, you know, I want to remind myself, or, you know, read reviews that people have actually written about the books and people's chapters. And, you know, it's inspiring. It's a good reminder. It's like taking a shower. We need to do things that motivate ourselves every
Yeah.
day. Zig Ziglar used to say that, you
Yeah.
know, and it's so true.
No, I do the same. I mean, I collect evidence. If there's a positive comment or a review or something of that sort that's left about me, I grab those screenshots. I have a file in my phone. I call it the courtroom because I
Yeah.
literally think about like my mind this way, where those negative beliefs, those disempowering thoughts, those are the prosecution. Those are the things tell me, hey, you're not meant to be here. You're not important. You can't do this. Who are you to think that way? And I have to collect my evidence. Like, well, this person said this, and this person said that I impacted him this way. I affected him this way. I have tangible things. Like, now it's your job to prove it to me. And usually those thoughts kind of die down and like kind of cower away, like, oh man, he's got us, right? But I got to be armored with it. Like for you, reader, you viewer right now, if that's what it takes, right? It's not manipulation. It's not, like I said, toxic positivity, false positivity. It's like you got to take the real things that people know or express about you and connect them to what you really know about yourself too. It can't be just like, wow, John, you're a great guy. And in your head, you're like, wow, well, I'm a moron. I'm this, I'm that. Like, what do you mean? No, no, John, you're a great guy because you're so thoughtful. John, you're such a great guy because you assemble talented people to craft their stories and guide them. And John's gonna be like, you know, you're right. I do that. I've done that 30 plus times with these series and other things I've done. Like, you know, I am that, right? So we got to connect what's real
Yeah.
and make it real, right? Like I talked about the synapse, the real connection piece of I know I'm this
Yeah.
and I can believe that too,
Mhm.
right? I used to deflect and you give me acknowledgement when I was shoot 20 years old. I'm dodging out like the Matrix. I'm like, you're not talking about me. Alex, you're a wonderful person. No, you're like
Yeah.
that's I can't even receive. It's like a raindrop. It just flies off me. Now I'm like Kevlar. I'm Teflon. Like I want that. I need that. I need that
Yeah.
stucco. So
Yeah, it's armor, it's fuel. And
yeah.
yeah, and thank you for making amends and saying all those nice things after, you know, I discovered you hadn't read my chapter. So that's, you know, I feel like that's really made that's really made amends. Really made amends. So I appreciate that. I feel
That's
like
gonna be
you've
my that'll be my
you've
review. I love
calibrated
every
the
chapter in here except
experience.
I love chapters 1 through 10, which
Yeah, yeah.
haven't got around to 11 yet.
I love your work, Alex. Love you're an awesome human being. You got a heart of gold, and you walk your talk, and I really appreciate that about you. And I always learn something, and yeah, it's awesome. Really appreciate you. And
Appreciate you for doing this. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, you're welcome. Have an awesome one.
man, you too,
Thanks
man. Stay
again.
blessed.
Yeah,
Yes.
and if you want to get more of these interviews with the authors, then hit the subscribe button. We'll make sure we'll send more your way. Peace out.